So, hello there, and welcome back to yet another Night of the Movies podcast. I'm Sprite Knight, and in these podcasts, I like talking all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I give my thoughts on this year's Academy Awards. But just before I do that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello to my viewers, but prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, well, you are in luck, as you can also listen to this podcast on Spotify at Night of the Movies on that platform. And if you are already listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there, as you podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually. Yes, you can watch this podcast on my YouTube channel at Night of the Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, wherever you may be watching or listening to this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the podcast, of course, and please leave me with some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there are always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So let's get into it, shall we? My thoughts on this year's Oscars. So just before I get into my thoughts, I'm going to say this. I am running on empty today. I only had 6 hours sleep, which isn't a lot for me. Usually I like a good 8 hours sleep. So I'm not 100% today. I am really tired, and I might not make sense in certain parts of this podcast because of the way my brain is working right now. So I don't know how this podcast is going to turn out. I haven't planned it particularly in detail up to the point that the notes I made earlier, I don't even have open on my computer right now. I've got them open now. Anyway, I have not planned this podcast particularly well, so I don't know how it's going to go, but here are my thoughts on this year's Academy Awards after watching them last night, because I'm recording them on the Monday after they took place. I really enjoyed this year's Academy Awards, really enjoyed it. And I think I enjoyed it, number one, a lot more because in the UK where I watched it, I was able to watch it for free. I didn't have to pay anything for it. It was shown on ITV1, and Jonathan Ross, who I like quite a lot, I find really funny. I don't really like his talk show, but I like him quite a lot. He was doing the UK coverage with a bunch of guests who seemed genuinely interested in what they were talking about, seemed genuinely interested in film. Because I remember all the way back in 2019, I saw Alex Zane doing the Sky News coverage, not Sky News, that doesn't make sense, the Sky coverage of the Oscars, and he had some guests on there, some which were interested in film, like Bill Bailey, but then some which just weren't, like Average Joe, whatever his name is, and he was complaining about the fact that Belfast was in black and white, and I'm like, why the hell are you on here? But this year, you had the likes of Richard Armitage, who played Thorin in the Hobbit movies. You had, what's her name? Oh, Faye Ripley, that's it, Faye Ripley. She seemed generally interested in the films we were talking about, like Zone of Interest, and also had Ben Bailey Smith, who has done some podcasts with Mark Kermode in the time. These names I'm mentioning probably no one's ever heard of before, but still, these people that they had on the show with Jonathan Ross seemed genuinely interested in what they were talking about. So that was good, and it also helped because it was showing it on a channel which is free to watch. And yes, there were adverts every now and then, but the adverts were far apart. They're only every, I don't know, half an hour to 45 minutes, which is not what you usually get with anything on ITV. Usually when you're watching something on ITV1, if you're in the UK and you're watching it, you'll understand what I'm going on about. If you're watching something on ITV1 in the UK, you usually get adverts every, 15 minutes? You didn't with the Oscars, and I really liked that, because last year I watched the Oscars on Now TV. I watched it on Sky, via Now TV, should I say, and there were adverts every 15 minutes, and it made the award show almost unwatchable for me. Whilst this year, because you kept going back to coverage from Jonathan Ross and his guests talking about what they thought of the awards ceremony so far, I really liked that. I thought it was a very entertaining show, and not only because of that, but also because of Ryan Gosling's performance as I'm Just Ken. Probably my most anticipated part of this year's Academy Award was the performance of I'm Just Ken from Barbie, as I was nominated for Best Original Song, and any song that's nominated for Best Original Song has to perform. So that's why Billie Eilish and her brother performed the other song from Barbie. There were some other song performances which I didn't really care about though, but I did care a lot about Ryan Gosling's performance doing I'm Just Ken, and it delivered. It was everything I wanted it to be. I even said in my Oscar predictions podcast that I did sometime last week, I was saying, you know, I want all the Kens from Barbie to come out on stage, and I want to see Simu Liu, who played Shang-Chi, he played a Ken in Barbie. I want to see him. Ncuti Gatwa is playing the 15th Doctor now. You know, I want to see him come out on stage because he played a Barbie and Ken. Kingsley Benedict, who played Bob Marley in Bob Marley One Love, he played a Ken in Barbie. I want to see him on stage, and they were all on stage, and I love that about that. I love that about the performance at the Oscars. They got all the Kens on stage. And then they got Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig kind of involved in the performance, alongside Emma Stone. So it was a little La La Land reunion between Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, enjoying the I'm Just Ken performance. And on top of that, you had Wolfgang Van Halen and Slash playing during that performance. And I'm like, wow, and Mark Ronson was there too, and Mark Ronson wrote the song, so that's not too surprising. But seeing Slash on there more than anything for the final guitar solo in the song, I was like, what's Slash doing there? Slash isn't nominated for anything. This is great. You know, that was a big surprise, and I thought that performance was undoubtedly the highlight of the night. You know, I saw somebody comment this on Instagram under the performance of I'm Just Ken, which I think Variety posted on Instagram earlier today, the full video. Someone commented, Billie Eilish might have won the Best Original Song for Barbie, but Ryan Gosling won the night. He stole the night, and he really did. He threw himself into that performance, and I've watched that performance about 4 times now. I'm going to watch it a 5th sometime later today. It's such a fun performance. I've seen Slash show up. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Guns N' Roses. There's some of their songs I like quite a lot. There's some that I really detest. But I was not expecting Slash during the I'm Just Ken performance, and that, for me, really just, you know, hit the nail. It was like the cherry on the ice on top of the cake. It was everything I wanted from that performance, and yeah, loved it. I really loved that part of the night, and I'll get on to the winners and, you know, what actually won the Oscar a bit later in this podcast. But I know some people are saying Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse got snubbed for Best Animated Feature, and I liked Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse quite a lot. I thought it was a really enjoyable film. I'm not surprised that it didn't win Best Animated Feature. The Boy and the Heron I haven't seen. Anime, it's not for me. That style of animation. I haven't really given it a go, so maybe I'm being a bit inconsiderate saying that. But I also didn't get a chance to watch that because the show times at my local cinema weren't great for that film. They didn't fit with my schedule. And maybe I'll watch it now. Maybe I'll watch it when it's on a streaming service in the next couple of months, because it won the Best Animated Feature. But I'm not surprised Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse didn't win, because it felt like the first part in a 2-part story, which it is. Originally, these next two, the next 2 Spider-Verse films coming out, the one that came out last year and the one that's going to come out in the next couple of years, were going to be called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and 2. But they took the Part 1 and Part 2 out of the titles, and if you've seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, you'll know that it ends on somewhat of a cliffhanger. I mean, not a full-on cliffhanger, say like the end of the second Hobbit movie, but it ends on a cliffhanger that sets up a 3rd film. And the 3rd film is going to be called Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think. And it's meant to come out next year, although I wouldn't hold my breath, because there's been some, you know, reports about some really tough environments for the animators for that film. So I wouldn't hold my breath that it comes out next year. But I reckon whatever year it does come out, it's going to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And perhaps Best Picture, if it's good enough. You know, it's a 3rd film in a trilogy, because there would have been, by that point, by the time Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, there'll be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. So it'll be part of a trilogy, and I reckon it'll just do the Return of the King thing, because when The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King won 11 Academy Awards at the 2003 Oscars, or was it 2004 Oscars even? Anyway, whenever it won all of its 11 Academy Awards, it won it because it was the end of the trilogy. You know, Fellowship of the Ring didn't win Best Picture, at least as far as I'm aware. Two Towers, I know, didn't win Best Picture for certain, so Return of the King won Best Picture, I think, for that trilogy as a whole, and I think that's what's going to happen with Spider-Verse. I'm not saying it's going to win Best Picture, but I think undoubtedly the next Spider-Verse film wins Best Animated Features. I don't think it was snubbed, because, and also, the last Spider-Verse film won Best Animated Feature, so it wasn't snubbed. I just think they're going to give the award to Part 2 when you get the complete story of the Spider-Verse films. I might be wrong in the future, but, you know, maybe I'll be proven wrong when when Spider-Man Beyond Spider-Verse comes out and it's actually quite a bad film and it doesn't win Best Animated Feature, but I don't think that's going to happen. And people saying, Spider-Verse was robbed. I don't know if you've seen Boy in the Heaven, and also I don't think it was robbed because I think it will eventually get its awards love. We'll have to wait and see for certain, but I think it will eventually happen. I did have some issues with last night's Academy Awards. I didn't think it was perfect, nor did I think it was it didn't blow me away. I thought it was certainly better than last year, and I should say, by the way, I've only seen 2 Academy Awards the full way through. Last year's and this year's. You know, I didn't really watch them until last year, and I was really excited about it last year, and last year was a bit of a disappointment for me, so I wasn't going to watch it this year until I heard it was going onto ITV1. I was like, oh, so the coverage might be better, and you have Jonathan Ross, somebody who is a big movie buff, you know, famously a movie buff in the UK, talking about doing the coverage. I was like, okay, yeah, I want to see that. So this is only the second Academy Awards I've watched, so, you know, do take my opinion with a grain of salt. Maybe if you watch every single Academy Award you won't feel the same as me, but this is only the second one I've watched. And that being said, I did have some problems with this show as a whole. Jimmy Kimmel is a fine host, and I think he did a fine job last night, but I really want someone else to do it next year. I don't want him to be the Oscars host for 2025. If he is, I'm not going to be heartbroken. I'm not going to not watch it just because he's hosting it, and I've got nothing against Jimmy Kimmel, but I didn't find him that funny last night. I understand why some other people didn't. You know, comedy is a very subjective thing. I'm not saying, you know, if you enjoyed it, then there's something wrong with you. Not at all. I didn't find his jokes that funny. I found it funny what he said about Trump later on. And there was some, you know, funny jokes here and there. But there was a bit where he was making jokes at Robert Downey Jr.'s expense. And I was like, why? And you could tell Robert Downey Jr. was not enjoying it. So, yeah, there was some jokes which fell flat for me, and I didn't think Jimmy Kimmel did an amazing job hosting the Academy Awards, and like I said before, I'd like someone else to do it next year. I don't think that will happen. I think it'll be him again. I think he's got some, like, contract, pardon me, with ABC, which means, and ABC they're the people that broadcast the Oscars in America. I think it means that he has to do it every year. I'm not certain on that, but whenever he gets asked, he has to do it. I think there's something like that with his contract. I may have just made that up, by the way, but anyway, yeah, I think he will end up doing it next year. I think he will end up doing it next year, but I don't think he should. I think they should get someone else, and maybe it would be some new life into the opening monologue. Again, I didn't think it was a bad opening monologue, but, you know, I just didn't find it that funny myself. So I thought it was a fine host. I didn't get annoyed by him, and I didn't think he did anything that stupid. Overall, you know, with the exception of the Robert Downey Jr. thing, I thought, you know, his jokes were well done. I just didn't find them that funny. That's all. Also, I thought the In Memoriam was a bit of a mess. You know, I couldn't really tell what was happening during the In Memoriam because the camera angles they chose to show what were taking place I thought were so odd and such a strange choice, and they were focused on the performance happening during the In Memoriam when actually I want to see the people that have died over the past year and, you know, put in a dedication to film, and I didn't get to see that quite a lot. I didn't get to see that during the In Memoriam, and I liked seeing that in past award ceremonies, like at the BAFTAs when they did the In Memoriam. I thought that was done well. Same with the SAG Awards, and my computer is speaking to me, so I'm just going to mute that. Anyway, yeah, when they've done In Memoriams at past award ceremonies, I like it because it tells me sometimes about artists who contribute to cinema which I didn't know had passed away in the past year. Well, seriously, I couldn't tell that, and I thought that the camera angles they used to show that section of the ceremony didn't really work. I did think that was a mess. I thought the In Memoriam this time was a mess. Furthermore, Al Pacino, he looked like he just got out of bed. I mean, what? it was quite something when he came out on stage. And right, first of all, he comes out on stage and they say, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of The Godfather Part 2, which came out in 1974, we have Al Pacino on stage. And I'm thinking, oh, that's great, Al Pacino. I like Al Pacino quite a lot. Why aren't they getting Robert De Niro out on stage with him? Because Robert De Niro was also in Godfather Part 2. He played a young version of Marlon Brando. And he won an Oscar for his performance as that character. So I thought it was weird that they didn't have both of them out on stage, because they're mates as well. And then the camera, as Al Pacino was coming out on stage, focused on Robert De Niro, and all I was thinking was, why the hell are you not on stage? Because you were both in Godfather Part 2. Anyway, then the probably most anticlimactic part of the night happened when Al Pacino didn't even read out the other nomination for Best Picture and just opened the envelope and went, I see Oppenheimer. Or you have to do like Al Pacino, I see Oppenheimer. I can't do an Al Pacino impression, but that was the most anticlimactic part of the night. And I didn't hate that, but at the time I was like, wait, did he just announce that Oppenheimer won Best Picture? Because I think Emma Thomas, who was Christopher Nolan's wife and producing partner who produced Oppenheimer, so therefore would have won and did win the Academy Award for Best Picture. When that happens, you can tell she's like, well, that's it? Yeah. There was like this delayed response in the audience, because I don't think people really understood what happened. Maybe next time don't get Al Pacino to do it. Make sure that he's fully awake, because he looked like he just got out of bed. And I like Al Pacino quite a lot, but I see Oppenheimer. I don't really know what was going on there. And it felt like an anticlimactic end to the night, because even though I think deep down everyone by that point knew Oppenheimer was going to win Best Picture, it won Best Lead Actor, it won Best Supporting Actor, it won Best Cinematography, it won all these big awards. I think even so people knew by that point it was going to win Best Picture, still, it felt anticlimactic the way Al Pacino announced it. But apart from that, I can't really think of any other problems I had with. I don't really have any other problems, and the problems I have are kind of nitpicks. I think Jimmy Kimmel was a fine host. I just didn't think he was that funny. But it's a subjective thing. I like him. I just thought his material was a bit all over the place this time around. The In Memoriam was a mess, and I thought that could have been done better. And Al Pacino, I don't really know what. He seemed like it was in a different world, but apart from that, I thought it was a really good show and it flowed well. It didn't feel like anything was extended for too long. Actually, I take that back a little. The bit where, when they're doing all the acting awards and they get these past Oscar winners out on stage to talk about each performance nominated in the Best Supporting Actor or Best Supporting Actress category or Best Lead Actor or Best Lead Actress category, I didn't think needed every time. Maybe just have it for the Best Lead Actor and Best Lead Actress, because when you have all these actresses talking about other actors' performances that are nominated this year for Best Supporting Actress, for the Best Supporting Actress category, I'm like, have you actually met each other? Because I think you can kind of tell that they don't really know each other and they're just reading off a script, a prompter, and it didn't really work that well. I didn't think it was needed for the Best Supporting Actress stuff, but maybe have it for the Best Lead Actor and Best Lead Actress stuff. I thought that worked for that bit, and hopefully you know what I'm talking about, by the way, when they have like 5 past Oscar winners come out. It worked for the Best Lead Actor and Best Lead Actress. I didn't think it was needed for Best Supporting Actress and Best Supporting Actor, though. I think you could have taken it out for that and just shown clips of these actors doing their performance in the films. Because also, for people who hadn't seen these films, like for somebody who hadn't seen The Holdovers, seen a clip of Davine, Joy Randolph in that film, would show you why it's an Oscar-winning performance, or an Oscar-worthy performance even. Same with Jodie Foster for Nyad. And loads of people haven't seen Nyad, so showing a clip of her in the film might actually encourage people to want to go and see that film on Netflix. And by the way, you definitely should. Nyad is a crowd-pleasing, entertainment-filled thrill ride. I don't know if thrill ride's the right word, actually, the right way of describing it, but it's a very, very good film. A very good film. And showing a clip of her in it may have encouraged people who are actually just watching the Oscars and not watching the coverage before, not watching the red carpet stuff, just watching the Oscars themselves. It might have encouraged them to go and see the film, but they didn't do that. And when they had all these actors, these past Oscar winners coming out on stage and going, blah, 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 blah. You're nominated tonight, and your performance in this movie is utterly phenomenal. It's a pleasure to see you on screen. It's a pleasure to see you here right now. I'm like, you don't need this. I thought it worked for the Best Lead Actor and Best Lead Actress stuff, but I didn't think it was needed for the Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress nominations. But still, I thought the awards made sense. I don't really think there were any huge surprises myself, or huge snubs. As I've already mentioned, I don't think Best Animated Feature went to the wrong people. I went to the wrong film. I haven't seen The Boy and the Heron, but I also don't think... I think people who were saying Spider-Verse should have won only watched Spider-Verse last year, or it's one of the only films he watched, That's just my take, but I do feel that Spider-Verse will eventually get its due. I do think eventually we'll get another Academy Award for the third film in that trilogy. But let's go through the winners ever so quickly. So, writing original screenplay. The winner, I think I predicted this, is Anatomy of a Fall. I would have given it to The Holdovers, as I already said last week. But then there's been some news out about it recently, which apparently the script for The Holdovers, which I saw last week again, by the way. I love that film so much. Anyway, the script for it was plagiarised from another film, so actually it should have been nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, and if it did win Best Original Screenplay, there probably would be some controversy about that. So, Anatomy of a Fall won, and it's well deserved. I thought it was a excellently written film. I'm looking forward to rewatching that, knowing now that it won Best Original Screenplay. Best Adapted Screenplay went to American Fiction. I'm so glad it did. Because Cord Jefferson, who was nominated and won that Academy Award, that was the first nomination he got at the Academy Awards, and he won with his first nomination. How many people can say that? And I think it's very well deserved. American Fiction is a superbly written film. Best Visual Effects, I think I predicted this, although it's not the one I would have given it to personally, but I think it's a deserving win. It went to Godzilla -1. The speech I didn't quite understand, but you can tell how much it meant to the people who worked on the VFX for Godzilla -1. You could tell how much it meant to them when they gave that speech, and they all had these Godzilla toys, and one of them was it was a Godzilla toy painted in gold to sort of, for the Oscars. Anyway, I love that they won, because even though I would have given it to the creator myself, because the visuals and the creator looked incredible. I didn't like the film, but the visuals looked incredible. I understand why Godzilla -1 won. And funny thing is, and I'll touch on this again a bit later in the podcast, Godzilla -1 won an Academy Award. It got an Academy Award. But Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon got no Academy Awards, and neither did Bradley Cooper's Maestro. Which I think says something. Anyway, I'll talk about that again a bit later in this podcast. I'm not going to talk about Best Sound. I'm going to skip through a couple of these. Best Production Design. The winner was Poor Things. I think that's what I said I would have given it to. Although I think Barbie was a close runner up there. But I'm very happy it went to Poor Things. And I didn't think that was a big surprise. I've heard some people say they're quite surprised by that. I wasn't really. Best Original Song, I think... I predicted this too, or I might have just missed this category when I did my predictions, but I think everybody knew it was going to go to Billie Eilish's song from Barbie, which is What Was I Made For. Her performance in the night was very good, by the way. And I hadn't actually probably listened to the song since seeing it in the film, back when I saw it in the cinema sometime last year. Probably would have been like July or August when I saw it again. It's a really great song, and I really liked her performance, and I'm not surprised she won. It's a second Academy Award win. She's only like 22. I think that's what they said when they were doing the coverage, when Jonathan Ross was talking about Billie Eilish winning again because she won an Academy Award for Best Original Song for No Time to Die. By the way, I didn't like that song at all. But she won for that, and I think she won... Well, yeah, of course she won. I don't think she won. She won for Best Original Song for Barbie, and I think it was deservedly so. However, I would have given it to I'm Just Ken, particularly for that performance. I mean, going back into what I was saying before, Billie Eilish might have won the Academy Award for Best Original Song, but Ryan Gosling singing I'm Just Ken stole the night. He won the night. Best original score, I predict this. It went to Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer. That was now his second Academy Award. He won an Academy Award for Black Panther, for the score for Black Panther, and deservedly so. It's a very fantastic score, and he won for the score for this film. And he said in his speech that Christopher Nolan actually contributed to the score. He contributed to the violin in the score, which I think is probably the most effective part of that score. So it was his idea. It was Nolan's idea to put a violin in the score, and yeah, I think it's a deserved win. I would have given it to John Williams for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but hey, it is what it is. If Indiana Jones was a better film, I think it actually would have had a chance of winning, but, you know, these things happen. Makeup and hairstyling went to Poor Things, which doesn't really surprise me. Some people thought it was going to go to Maestro. I wasn't surprised that it didn't. You know, even though Maestro had some fantastic makeup and hairstyling, you know, say what about that movie, and I have my criticisms of it now, having seen it for the second time on Netflix, but it does have some superb makeup and hairstyling, but I'm not surprised Poor Things took the award for that one. Film editing went to Oppenheimer. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm getting in. Best costume design went to Poor Things. That's what I would have given it to. Although I do think Barbie, I think that's what I predicted, but I do think Barbie was a close runner-up. Best cinematography, I think I predicted this. It went to Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer just swept the board, didn't it? Best animated feature went to The Boy in the Heaven. I've already spoken about my thoughts on that, and we're going into the acting ones now. So best actors in a supporting role, much to no one's surprise, went to Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, and her speech was very inspirational. It was a very great speech, and I think it's a deserving Oscar win. I watched The Holdovers last week again, and she is just perfect in that film. Best actress in a leading role, this was probably the coin flip for the night. It was either going to go to Emma Stone or Lily Gladstone, and it went to Emma Stone. That's what I predicted. I got my prediction right there. Yes. But a lot of people think it was going to go to Lily Gladstone, and a lot of people thought Lily Gladstone was snubbed. I think if Killers of the Flower Moon was a better film, I think if Killers of the Flower Moon was 2 hours or 2 hours and a half, it would have gone to Lily Gladstone. But that film is 3 hours and a half, and it's an hour and a half too long in my opinion. The fact it went to Emma Stone it makes sense to me, and I think her speech was very good. And so we have Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Much to no one's surprise, it went to Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, and yeah, much to no one's surprise, because he's been winning all the previous awards, and deservedly so. And I thought this next award had a chance of going to Paul Giamatti, but instead it went to Cillian Murphy, and this award is for Best Actor in a Leading Role. And somebody did say it to me on my predictions podcast. He commented, and it was a fair comment. It wasn't mean-spirited in any means. But he said to me, I completely disagree. I think Cillian Murphy deserves the award for Best Lead Actor. I agree. I think he deserves the award. I personally myself just would have given it to Paul Giamatti, because whenever I think of Paul Giamatti's performance in The Holdovers, it makes me smile. I have this sort of affection towards it that I don't have with Cillian Murphy's performance. Not that it's not a good performance. I'm not saying that. It's a breathtaking performance and everything. It's a very emotive performance. It's an internal performance, and he carries a lot of the film. You're drawn to him constantly throughout the film, constantly throughout Oppenheimer. But it's just not a performance I feel that much affection towards. Although I completely understand why he won, and I'm glad he won, because Cillian Murphy is one of those actors that whenever he's in something, I'm always on alert, because there's just something about him as an actor where, I mean, he's incredibly gifted and incredibly talented. So yeah, I'm happy Cillian Murphy won. I would have given it to Paul Giamatti. That's all I'll say in my predictions. But I did think it was going to go to Cillian Murphy, though. I think I said that in my predictions. Maybe I didn't. I can't remember predictions. I can't remember all my predictions. For, you know, I can't. This is what happened when you only had 6 hours sleep. You can't even make sense after a while. I can't remember every single one of my predictions, but I'm pretty sure I did predict it was going to go to Cillian Murphy. Although I just would have liked to go to Paul Giamatti, but I think Cillian Murphy was deserved for that Academy Award, and I really liked his speech as well. I really liked his speech because his past couple of speeches whenever he's won an award haven't been great in my opinion, but his speech last night, you could tell how much it meant to him, and yeah, I was happy he won the award. It's not who I would have given it to, but you know, I'm very happy he won it because Cillian Murphy is a very, very good actor. Best director, much to no one's surprise, went to Christopher Nolan. I predicted this in my predictions video. You know, this is what I mean. There's no big surprise at this Academy Awards. There's no big surprise, which I thought there could have been. I know some people were surprised by Emma Stone, but I do actually think her performance is better than Lily Gladstone's in Killers of the Flower Moon. Even so, I do not like Poor Things. I think it's it's hard to watch for me. Even so, I don't like Poor Things. I think Emma Stone is incredible in it, which tells you how good a performance she gives. I didn't like the film, but I liked her in it. So I didn't even think that was a surprise. There wasn't any big surprises of the night, in my opinion. Even so, I've heard some people say otherwise. I didn't really feel like there was. And again, just exemplified by this. Best director goes to Christopher Nolan. Of course it was going to go to Christopher Nolan. He won the BAFTA. He won the Golden Globe. And it was, you know, once Oppenheimer was winning all these awards like Best Lead Actor, Best Cinematography, Best Original Score, Best Supporting Actor, it was a shoo-in. It was easily going to happen, and it did happen. And Nolan's speech, you know, it was a great one, and I'm happy Christopher Nolan won because I don't, even though he's not personally one of my favourite directors working in the business right now, I do think he's a very, very good director and a very motivated director. And even though I don't think Oppenheimer is his best film, I still, you know, I can understand why he won for this film. It is, in and out, a Christopher Nolan film, and he's been nominated. He said he was nominated 8 times, by the way. So, yeah, 9th time's the charm, or 8th time the charm, even. It didn't say if he was nominated for 8 times and this was his 9th nomination, or if he was nominated for 7 times and this was his 8th nomination. They didn't say that. So, you know, whatever time's the charm for Christopher Nolan, I do think he deserved it for Oppenheimer because it's an incredibly made film. My liking of it has just gone down since seeing it. I'm being completely honest. And the Best Picture win went to Oppenheimer, which surprised no one. Nominated alongside it were American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Haven't seen The Zone of Interest, so can't comment on that, but they were all worthy nominations. I wouldn't have put Maestro in there, but they were all worthy nominations, so I can understand why all those nominations were in there. But Oppenheimer winning didn't surprise me, and I do think, you know, it was on the card. It was definitely going to happen. It was a shoo-in again. It was a shoo-in. I don't really know what that phrase means, but I've just heard someone say it on a podcast before, so I decided to use it in my podcast today. Yeah, no surprise that Oppenheimer won Best Picture. So Oppenheimer swept at this year's Academy Awards, and I can understand why, because it got all this, well, for the most part, universal praise. No film is going to be completely universally praised, but it got, for the most part, universally praised, and a lot of people loved it, and a lot of people are happy that it's getting all this awards love, and I'm happy for it as well, because it's an incredibly well-made, it's an incredibly well-made film, and you can see how much effort went into making it, not only from the filmmakers and Nolan, but also from everybody on the screen. It won the Best Picture, much to no one's surprise, and I think it won 7 Academy Awards. So there's that. I think it was a worthy win. It's just not what I would have given it to. I would have given it to The Holdovers, but you know, that's me on my little island there. Films which didn't win any Academy Awards, which were nominated though, included the likes, as I've already mentioned, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, and one I didn't realise was Past Lives. Past Lives didn't win any Academy Awards, and Past Lives is a brilliant film. It's currently streaming on Netflix, and I definitely recommend it. I think that should have got something for like Best Original Screenplay. I think it's an original screenplay, and I think it was nominated. I think it should have won for that. I do think it's a better winning film than Anatomy of a Fall. I'm not upset with Anatomy of a Fall winning or anything. I just think Past Lives should have won, and it's sad that it didn't get any Academy Awards. I think it also should have been nominated for more. I think Greta Lee should have been nominated for her performance in that film. Also, what's the other one? I just mentioned their names, but I forgot them now. Killers of the Flower Moon. I think the fact that it didn't win anything tells you what people really thought about that film. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just me being a bit cynical, but because I did not like that film. 3 hours and a half and went on and 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 on. It was such a dull and tedious watch, but I'm not surprised he didn't win anything. And I feel bad saying this, but I'm not surprised about Maestro too not winning anything, because I do feel it was a little Oscar bait. Although I stand by this, if Maestro was a better film, I think Kay Mulligan would have easily, and I mean easily, won a Best Lead Actress. But it was not as praised as Killers of the Flower Moon was, or Poor Things. So the fact that Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone were front runners, I think, was because their films were ever so slightly better. Well, in other people's opinions, let's just say that. I would have given it to Kay Mulligan, but I'm not surprised that, Emma Stone won. And I think, Emma Stone, she's not even 40 years old, she's like 35 years old, and she's now got 2 Academy Awards. I reckon she will win a 3rd Academy Award. Yeah, this is my bet for future me. I think she'll win a 3rd Academy Award by 2034. If the Academy Awards are still going on by that point, we'll have to wait and see, hey. But if the Academy Awards are still going on in 10 years, I think she will have won another Academy Award. I think she might have been an EGOT winner by that point. We'll have to wait and see, because we've seen her do song and dance before in films like La La Land. She's doing more TV shows now as well, so I think there's a chance she could easily be an EGOT winner by that point. So yeah, I think the fact that Emma Stone won her 2nd Academy Award is only showing you where her career is going in the future, and how many awards she's going to win in the future too. I don't think by any chance we've seen the last of Emma Stone at these Academy Awards. I don't think we've seen the last of Emma Stone winning Academy Awards. Some people have already started to talk about the Oscars for next year, because Dune Part 2 is out in cinemas, and people are already saying that's a front runner to win Best Picture. When people say that, I do laugh, because it's like, yeah, what's it up against so far? There's not many great films out this year so far, and we're only in March. We've got a hell of a lot of cinema to come out for the rest of the year, and who's to say what the rest of the year could be like for cinema? Furiosa is coming out, and the last Mad Max film, Mad Max Fury Road, was nominated for Best Picture. So Furiosa, the new Mad Max film coming out this year, and they had the 2 stars from Furiosa, Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth on stage at this year's Academy Awards. Who's to say the next Mad Max couldn't be nominated for Best Picture? Just saying. And also, I don't think Dune 2 is a shoo-in to win or Best Picture. I think it get nominated because the last Dune film got nominated, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily definitely going to win. I've heard some people already saying Dune Part 2 is definitely going to win the next. It's definitely going to win all the awards of the next Oscars. I'm a bit like, is it? Because we've got a lot of cinema to come this year yet. I mean, it may well be the case, and I might be eating up my words in a year's time. But we'll have to wait and see that. We'll have to wait and see about that, shall we? Still, I'm looking forward to the next Academy Awards. I'm hoping it's on ITV1 again next year. I'm hoping Jonathan Ross is doing it again. I'm hoping it does the same sort of flow. I'm hoping they take a couple of elements out, maybe show clips of the actors and their performance that they're nominated for the next year, instead of doing what they did this year. Just change it up a little. Get another incredible song performance like I'm Just Ken, and yeah, make it another great Academy Awards. I'm not too far away from the 100th Academy Awards, because next year will be the 97th Academy Awards. This year was the 96th, and yeah, I wonder what they're going to do for the 100th. So I'm looking forward to future Academy Awards. This has made me want to watch them again. This Academy Awards has made me want to watch future Academy Awards. Even so, there was no big surprises for me this year. I liked watching it, and I liked seeing people win, and I liked seeing Oppenheimer win, because I do think it's a very good film. And I also like seeing other films get appreciated at award ceremonies. Although Holdover's only won 1 award. It won Best Supporting Actress, and it deservedly so, but I would have given it all the Academy Awards. All the Academy Awards which Oppenheimer won, give it to Holdovers. That's just me, though. again, I'm happy Oppenheimer won, and I do think it deserved all of its awards. So that's it for the podcast today. I'm going to stop rambling up because I've been rambling on for way too long. Let's have a look. Oh boy, I did not expect to be rambling on for that long. So I'm going to round things off by saying this. Thank you as always for watching or listening to this podcast, and please let me know your thoughts on this year's Academy Awards. Maybe you thought it was the worst Academy Awards we've seen so far. Maybe you thought it was too predictable, or maybe you thought it was the best Academy Awards you've seen thus far. Whatever your thoughts are on this year's Academy Awards, on the 2024 Academy Awards, please let me know in the comment section below. And as I've already said, thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As I've already said, thank you as always for watching or listening to this podcast, and I suppose this is it. So I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye.